right, welcome to the Armchair Commanders podcast. My name is John.
And I'm Dr. Jack.
You take that back. You don't have a medical degree.
Oh, call the fucking cops.
Maybe I will.
Oh shit, that's right.
And welcome to our podcast where we review war movies. This week we are reviewing the classic seminal piece of work seminal
Fluids
of Stanley Kubrick of Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned. You say it.
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Great choice, by the way. What made you
like it?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of Stanley Kubrick's films, but this is actually one of them that I hadn't seen before, so this was a first time for me. And I don't know what I was really expecting, but I was pleasantly surprised. And I say that because I'm not like a huge Stanley Kubrick guy. Like, yeah, I enjoyed I really like Paths of Glory, and I enjoyed Full Metal Jacket, but like The Shining and Clockwork Orange or 2001 Space Odyssey didn't really do it for me. So I wasn't sure where this was going to land for me.
As a quick aside, I was there when you watched Clockwork Orange for the first time. I know because that was the first time I watched it too. We watched it because it was movie night in Frank's dorm, and he had to watch it for psychology, so we decided to make a movie night out of it.
Yeah, that was definitely a different film.
Freshman year of college, bro. I love that movie.
I remember talking to Miranda about it. She's like, even in my edgiest teenage phase, I couldn't get myself to like that film, which made me laugh.
But it's literally about society. It was the original Society trademark movie. We do in fact reside in one.
I hate the system, but then I realized I'm part of it.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, our associate Frank wrote. I can't remember if it was a class assignment or if he was just going through an artsy phase, but he wrote a poem where those were 2 lines in it.
Man,
super deep.
Those are the days.
He doesn't listen to our podcast, does he?
Who knows? He might start.
This is the one he starts listening to.
Fucking bully.
So, what made you go with this film choice for this week?
So, I was gonna recommend something else, but then you mentioned that you haven't seen this movie before, and I thought you'd like it. So, I decided to offer you a choice. It was I was gonna propose either this movie or the next episode of was it Masters of the Air? Yeah, that show. Mm-hmm. But then I forgot to offer you the choice, so then it just says Dr. Strangelove.
We should do the second episode of Masters of the Air just as we should do that as a bonus reel series.
So, proposition for you.
Okay.
Since Joey's our sugar daddy on this one, should we involve him? I'd feel bad if we didn't.
Yeah, seeing as he's the one that actually makes it capable for us to watch it.
Hey, he's a good guy. We love you, Joey. Shout out.
Love you.
Joey from Clear Lake, our biggest fan.
He's at least in the top 5.
We only have 6 fans. And you and me are 2 of them.
No, our latest numbers actually show that we consistently have 30 listeners.
Double digits, fuck yeah.
I know, right?
We're almost a third of the way to triple digits, baby.
it's a metric. They call it return average subscriber. So like we're averaging between 50 to 100 like streams an episode, not including YouTube stuff. And of those, like 30 are repeat listeners. So shout out to our double digit listeners, guys.
You guys are the real fans. Make it all
I
happen.
know. Don't tell me how they figure that shit out. I'm sure it's some shady shit with IP addresses and whatnot, but that's what you get for not saying reject all cookies, guys.
Yeah, dinguses.
Oh. Well, we also we discussed this film a little bit 2 weeks ago when we had our guest Shane Stevenson on from the Buffalo Military Park, where we did another Cold War going hot film, the Bedford Incident, and that one was a much more serious
Yeah,
take.
it was
I
not
was
funny.
no, no, it was not. It was made me really concerned for humanity. That film did. Um, I was very tempted though because Peter Sellers is in this. Uh, I was tempted to text you halfway through and be like, "Man, Pink Panther got really dark." Like, so who is your favorite character in this?
Well, either the titular Strangelove, even though he doesn't get a lot of screen time, or General Jack Ripper, the sexually questionable general that's obsessed with fluids. I've never given my fluids to a woman, not even in the act of love.
They're all after my essence. They can sense it, motherfucker. What?
Fluoridation is the most sinister communist
You
plot.
know, I was, I've heard like weird side comments about fluoridating water for like a long time. And I always just thought, like, oh, people just don't agree on whether or not water should be fluoridated. I didn't realize until this movie and I had to look it up. I was like, holy shit. Like the whole fluoridation conspiracy was like a legit thing during the 50s and 60s. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah, it was
literally like
massive.
the 50s and 60s equivalent of like anti-vaxxers. It's so stupid. Like,
Oh, I assure you, it's still
I
hotly
know
debated
that, but
today.
at least I would rather something be debated based on like a scientific premise and not the commies are trying to secretly kill us, you know?
Yeah, and it was proposed as that a communist plot because I don't know if it was in the Constitution or some such law in America that stated Americans cannot be forcefully medicated against their will or knowledge. And yeah, that was a big thing.
I'm team fluoridation. I like having shiny teeth. I
Machete
actually
teeth
I have
that sparkle.
I have no idea whether it's good or not if we're being honest. And I don't really care. Fucking whatever. Like,
I mean, studies say it's okay.
oh, from big science, the same people that brought you dinosaurs.
Here we go again. Mamma mia, here we go again. So, for our listeners that somehow don't know this, John is an infamous dinosaur
I'm not.
denialist. He absolutely refuses to believe in dinosaurs. And you know what? In a way, I agree with him. I prefer the interpretation that they were actually dragons. You know, those fucking nerds had to go and ruin that for me.
It was just a phase. It was a joke I took. It was a joke I took too far. I do believe in dinosaurs. Nobody at me.
I don't know. You kept that up for so long. The line started to blur,
I almost
John.
lost myself in that, if we're being honest.
I think it was Nietzsche that says, "Stare into the eyes of dinosaur denialism, and you'll find yourself staring
It'll stare.
back."
The eyes
I
of
think that's how
dinosaurs
the
will stare
quote
back at
goes.
you.
Or at least they would if they weren't dead.
Or if they existed. Anyways, no, that whole fluoride thing, I remember it triggered, like, that line triggered a memory for me. Were you much of a watcher of the TV show MASH?
A bit. I really should pick that up again.
It's on Hulu, so
Hulu or yeah, I use Hulu for Mash and King of the Hill.
I so there's an episode in there where you know the character Frank Burns.
Which one was he
He
again?
was the he was in like the first half of the show, and he was the guy that like dated Margaret Houlihan. Like
Oh, he was one of the
yeah,
antagonists, wasn't
yeah,
he?
he was an antagonist.
Yeah, I remember him, that dick.
But there's one scene in that show where he's like in charge of teaching Koreans English because they want to start using them as like orderlies or something around the hospital. And he starts like feeding them like propaganda lines like better dead than red. Don't contaminate our water with fluoridation. And I, I've seen that so many times. And like the first time I saw it, I was like a kid. I was like, the fuck is he talking about? Like, what? Like, I never got that until just when I watched this movie. I was like, what the fuck is with fluoride? And I had to Google it. I'm like, my God, how have I missed this fucking conspiracy theory my entire life? Like,
To be honest, I don't know how you have either.
I don't know. I was too busy doing the Lord's work with dinosaurs. So
I see. But so I just looked it up, and you know that one big plot point where the Russian diplomat to the war room is like, "You guys need to get a fucking handle on this right now. We've got this device. We're call it the Doomsday device. It's set to go off if it detects a nuclear explosion or an attack on Russian soil." Or it was at the base, wasn't it? The base itself.
yeah, something like that.
But anyway, like if it goes off, it'll set off the Doomsday device. And they're like, "Okay, cool, but why the fuck didn't you tell us? This would have greatly influenced things." And he's like, "Oh, I was supposed to keep it a secret until 5 days from now when I was going to reveal it at the conference, thus removing the whole point of having it anyway." And apparently that was a real thing, the Doomsday device. Only it was called the Dead Hand.
Hmm.
Constructed about this system remains in use in the post-Soviet Russian Federation.
Oh,
Failed deadly and mutually assured destruction
that's
deterrence.
not fuck.
It can automatically initiate the launch of Russian intercontinental ballistic missiles by sending a pre-entered highest authority order from the General Staff of the Armed Forces.
That's fucking terrifying because nothing could ever go wrong with a Russian-built device.
Nope. Which is why this movie resonates today.
Fuck, dude.
Block.
So, at the time of this recording, the conflict in Ukraine is still very much alive and
We just passed the second anniversary of it too.
second or third. It's been a minute. It's been going on for a while. But remember early on when the Ukrainians sunk the pride of the Russian fleet, the Moskva?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
So there's this one YouTuber. His name is Laserpig, and he does these like super in-depth, like military breakdown type things of like different aircraft, tanks, stuff like that. He did a video on the Moskva, and he's like, it's a wonder that the Ukrainians had a chance to sink it at all, considering how shittily the Russian Navy took care of it. Like, it only had half the fire extinguishers it should have had. They couldn't operate. It was something like they couldn't operate the navigation system and like the anti-aircraft system at the same time because apparently the frequencies or whatever interfered with each other. Uh, like damage control shit was like under lock and key, and only like two people on the boat had a fucking key to it. Like, it's just ridiculous nonsense like that. So it's, or
Mm-hmm.
like the engines were so poorly maintained that they could never get them above like half power at any given time.
Yeah,
So yeah, the fact that the pride of the Russian fucking fleet is a heaping pile of shit does not give me confidence in their doomsday device.
let me just put it out there for the record that I always knew the Russian military was incompetent and knew that they were paper tigers, but nobody listened to me.
Yeah, that will really show them politicians. I do I do love the take in this movie on the dichotomy of military leadership versus political leadership, because it's because you have the president who's like, we have a strict non-aggression policy here, and George C. Scott, which I love the fact that they got George C. Scott in this movie. He does a fantastic job as one of the Air Force generals. He's like, yeah, well, General Ripley kind of threw that out the window already, so we're going to have to move past that thinking. What did you think of George C. Scott in this film?
And forgive me for not knowing this, but which
He
character
was
did he
the
play?
Air Force general that um, he's the one that started off with that girl in the bedroom and then goes. He's the
Blast
one that.
off. Oh, you should see him. He could barrel that thing, baby, so low. Is there any chance he gets this to the base? Any small chance at all? Oh, absolutely. Then he realizes what that means. Oh,
I love his solution. Is like, okay, there's going to be a big fight, and we don't know how that's going to turn out on the base because they're under orders to guard it. So what if we just go balls to the wall and completely nuke Russia? That way, we only get like 20, 30 million casualties.
General Buck Turgidson.
Name. I also love the fact that, like, as he's in the war room, his girlfriend calls him, and it's like, you are a half hour away from nuclear annihilation, and here you are trying to still like, nah, baby, you're the only girl for me. It's like you got more important shit on your plate right now. Maybe take a message.
And I like how in the beginning they were like she was his secretary and passing off sensitive information to him. He says it's important. He says this and this is happening.
Plan R is in effect. At first, I didn't realize that OPE was supposed to be a play on the like General Ripley's obsession with like essence and like peace on earth and all that shit. I just thought Stanley Kubrick was being like just being a jackass. He's like, oh, like it's an accident. Oh, you know what I mean?
Now, Dimitri, imagine how I feel in this. Dimitri, stop crying.
Well, if it was a hostile phone call, I wouldn't have bothered calling you.
Just talking over the line like rivals and friends.
Typical Russian fashion, they couldn't even shoot down 4 fucking airplanes.
That's
Yep,
your takeaway.
that's my takeaway from this. 34 airplanes, 30 were turned
So,
around, and they only had to shoot down fucking 4 of them. They couldn't handle it.
So I'm sure you're aware that this is based on a book.
I am aware it's based on a book. I have not read that book because I'm not a learned man as you are.
Well, I haven't read it either because readings for fucking nerds. But I do follow a channel on YouTube called Cinefix, and one of their more popular series is called "What's the
Okay.
Difference?" And notably, they did Starship Troopers. Really good video on that about the differences between the book and the movies. And they also did this book, which is called Red Alert. It's from 1956, and how it compares to the movie. Apparently, the book is like dead serious, but it still has the same basic themes about how incompetence of man will lead to its downfall and how we shouldn't put this much power in fucking idiots. Um, And yeah, that scene in the bomber where it's damaged, there are dead crew members, but they're still flying, and the super patriotic when Johnny comes marching home is playing over the intercom. That's played completely straight in the books and is played up as a macho man moment, even though they're unknowingly leading to the end of the human race.
You know, I've never flown a B 52, nor have I been on a nuclear strike mission. I think I would choose a a little more metal of a song than Johnny Comes Marching Home.
What, by something by Cup Cocky?
Yeah, maybe baby metal. Oh no, like you could always do the classic "Let the bodies hit the floor." Maybe that's a little too
As it blows up.
I don't know. Maybe that's a little too on the nose.
I don't know, maybe Holy War, the punishment due
Holy
from from
diver.
the punishment due by the immortal Megadeth from their album Rust in Peace.
Maybe something from Five Finger Death Punch's "War is the Answer."
War. What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing. Man, how
Stock
long is it?
prices for Raytheon.
How long is it going to take for this episode to get fucking yanked for copyright infringement?
I dare them.
I will say, I know we're jumping around a lot on this movie, but I genuinely loved the outro to this film, which is, you know, it's very
We'll meet again.
again. Don't know when, don't know where, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. I like I don't know if you can tell, but I have fucking Vera Lynn on my playlist normally, so because I'm a fucking old man at heart. So having "We'll Meet Again" as the outro song to a bunch of nuclear explosions, I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is classy." Now that I think about it, that you know what, that would be my song. If I was a B-52 pilot, that would be my end of the world song.
Don't know when. Don't know when.
For our listeners at home, I'm going to do a poll on Instagram, and I want to hear what your end of the world song would be. I want to see what your clever little what your clever minds come up with.
So am I causing the end of the world, or am I just a victim of it?
No, you are just
A bomber pilot.
you are a cog in the machine.
I hate being the cog.
You hate the system, but then you realize you're part of it.
I was waiting for that. But fuck. Maybe the SpongeBob theme. I need to think about this.
CMPF. Anyways, back to this fucking movie. What did you think of the like the cinematography in this, because this is from the earlier part of Stanley Kubrick's career, so it's kind of got a different take than a lot of his later films.
I can't help but feel like they intentionally did the outer shots of the B-52 intentionally bad to play up the comedic effect, because they very well could have done better effects even in the 60s.
Yeah, I struggled with that, especially because the film opens up with footage of an actual B 52 like refueling scene, and then it cuts to a very obviously static model with a fucking screen behind it. So I have to feel like that's an intentional choice, like you said, which is even more jarring when you consider how excellent, um, like the Air Force Base shootout scene is. Like it looks like found footage from a battlefield. Like he did the shaky cam just perfectly. Um, so the contrast between those two scenes is very jarring for me.
Yeah. I
I
like.
did,
Go ahead.
or I was going to say, I really enjoyed that during the Air Force Base battle scene. Like, there's this shootout with a bunch of soldiers, and in the background, there's a billboard for the Strategic Air Command that says, "Peace is our mission."
I was going to bring that up next, actually, because that really, peace is our profession, really was their motto. And the juxtaposition of soldiers fighting under it was chef's kiss.
Have you ever seen the movie Strategic Air Command?
No, I've never seen any movie ever.
Oh, you're fucking hilarious.
I know I'm going to
Um,
use that joke every chance I get. But anyway,
so Strategic Air Command, as you might guess, is a movie about the Strategic Air Command. The primary actor in it is Jimmy Stewart. Which, fun fact, he actually served in the Air Force, but they basically did it as this like 1950s or 1960s kind of like propaganda film where it's like, look at our capabilities type deal. But
yeah.
it never goes anywhere. Um, it's just, hey, look at us flying around in airplanes for 2 hours. Um, should definitely do that film sometime. Maybe give it a little bit of time, seeing as we've had two Cold War films almost in a row. But
Did did I whip out my uh
penis.
yeah, did I whip have I whipped out my dick on this podcast yet? I think I have. But
I don't
anyway,
know. You never turn your camera on, so
I don't have a camera on this computer, okay?
fine.
Besides, it wouldn't fit in the camera's frame anyway. Anyway,
Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah,
shut up.
I
But
subscribe to your OnlyFans.
anyway, what I was gonna say is, have I proposed that little interesting thought about the world wars and how it relates to the Cold War?
Mm,
Because I read this thing not too long ago that argues that the Cold War itself was World War III, and that the current global war on terror is World War IV.
so GWA is World War IV.
It is technically a global spanning conflict. Of course, we don't really have a definition about what a world war is until we're out of it.
Yeah, I think it's a little difficult because yes, I think that's the issue is there's a ton of proxy wars in the Cold War instead
Different
of like,
theaters of the, different theaters of the same war, some would argue.
yeah, I mean, realistically, like Korea and Vietnam are more or less the same conflict, just slightly different areas. Um, and like, God, it just feels like the Cold War was much more like a subterfuge type conflict. But I guess I'm not totally against it. It's just the Cold War doesn't truly strike me as World War Three, especially seeing as like the whole point of the Cold War is waiting for World War Three. Like everybody who lived through the Cold War was like waiting for that like final like kickoff moment.
It's just something to think about.
I shall ponder it greatly.
I was initially against it, but the more I thought about it, it kind of does have a point.
I am willing to accept global war on terror as a world war. I can make that leap in my mind.
And I would say the Cold War is a greater world war than the global war on terror. There were just more fronts to it, and it didn't go hot because nukes. Boy, that sure took the fun out of conventional warfare, didn't it?
Right? You know what that made me think about is did you ever see the Family Guy episode where like Stewie gets a girlfriend who is also like super evil?
There have been a lot of episodes where he has a girlfriend. Which one was she?
Okay, one of the earlier ones, the like British girlfriend.
Wait, I do remember the episode where he's trying to teach her how to speak properly,
I think
but I don't.
it's not whatever. Anyways, there's an episode where Stewie gets a girlfriend. She is also evil. And they have like their thing that they do for fun together is like purposely causing chaos. And so Stewie's girlfriend like sends a note to Pakistan from India and it just says up yours. And then you just like look over to a TV screen and it just shows them nuking each other. Like, man, that didn't take much.
Man,
That's the other crazy part of like nuclear warfare is like being an American, we always view like we have a very strong mindset of viewing Russia as our nuclear nemesis. And like for very obvious and good reasons, they have the most comparable nuclear stockpile to us. Like nobody else in the world competes with us in that regard like they do. But like there's at least a dozen countries that have access to nuclear weapons, if not more, because everybody's got to keep that fucking under their hat.
yeah,
Because like,
all the kids.
yeah, all the cool kids have fucking nukes now, and it's like all it's going to take is for any one of these countries, ours included, to have one really bad leader to end it all.
Mm-hmm. We're always that close.
That's why I both love and no, I would say I just love Cold War going hot films, but it really like they're always super unsettling for me because I genuinely don't know how people aren't still concerned about that. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like a prepper or anything. Like, I live in the Denver metro. I am well aware of the fact that if there's a nuclear war, I'm just gone. So, but like, still the fact that like shit could happen anytime.
And don't don't let him fool you, dear listeners. He says he's not a prepper, but he's recording this live from his bunker under his house, and
God
he's
damn
in
it,
a
Jack!
hazmat suit.
You're not welcome anymore to the bunker of love.
Have I ever mentioned how cool it is that you have a bunker?
It's not cool anymore because people know about it.
Well, fuck you too. I don't need your stupid bunker. I'll make my own bunker with blackjack and hookers.
With a half life of about 100 years, if we go 1,000 feet down in a giant tunnel, and we have 10 females for every male.
You know, I can't believe we haven't said one of the more memorable lines of this movie. Gentlemen, gentlemen, there's no fighting in the war room.
That
Also,
is.
a fun fact about this Stanley Kubrick demanded that the table they all sit at in the war room was green, where it would be green, because he wanted to convey the fact that they're all essentially poker players and the fate of the world is the cup. However, the entire movie's in black and white.
Yeah, that didn't really work out.
Or, well, and if you do look at it close enough, it kind of looks like a greenish gray.
That's not how black and gray works.
I mean, it
Whatever.
could tell different shades of a color by looking at it.
You know, both me and Stanley Kubrick had very similar artistic backgrounds.
Oh, yeah? Yeah?
I, I'm just being shitty about that. Actually, so the reason why he was able to establish himself so well is he worked in black and white photography for like 2 decades before getting into filmmaking. So his first couple of films were in black and white. So like he understood it like very well, or had like a different eye for it. Um, and in college, I did black and white photography, so we're basically the same as an elective course.
Him and I are the same.
I'm sure he probably was just as artistic as I was, but we'll never know.
No, we won't.
Ugh. You know what my most memorable or favorite line in this entire movie was?
What is it?
Is when the British officer is being held at gunpoint by that colonel, and he's like, I have to get to the phone. I have to talk to the president of the United States. And like they go to a telephone booth and he's short change and he's like, shoot the Coca-Cola machine. We need extra change so I can make the call. And he's like, I can't do that. It's private property. He's like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
All right, I'll shoot it off. But after all this, you know who you're going to report to? Who, your chief or executive officer? No, the Coca-Cola Company.
If any more truer a statement was ever made, I fear Coca-Cola more than I do the US government.
Yeah, who knows what the Coca-Cola, what dirt the Coca-Cola Company has on us.
Coca-Cola basically owns half the world in one way or another.
Yeah, dude.
You know who was really behind 9/11? Coca-Cola.
Pepsi.
See, they each took one tower.
Oh man, you're gonna get us banned.
Just for those at home, I hate 9/11 jokes and memes, but that one was a little. We're on a roll. My apologies. I do a stair climb every year. God damn it! Like,
Do you climb those stairs for the victims of 9/11? No, so I can make jokes.
it's what they would have wanted.
Yep. They died for my right to make jokes, I think.
Something like that. So what was the aspect of this film that you liked the least, or was your least favorite?
Hmm. I felt like a lot of the scenes drug out, specifically when the in the war room when there's not very many jokes going on. It's just them talking. I don't know. Maybe that's just my zillennial brain not being able to pay attention to shit. But
That's fair. I think that's kind of in line with Stanley Kubrick's filmmaking style, though.
yeah,
It's kind of long, drawn out scenes. It's very similar to like Quentin Tarantino does a very similar style movie making, where it's like, yes, it's very good and complete dialogue, but also there are points where you're like, let's get this moving. You know what I mean?
hmm
I think for me, my least favorite aspect of this film is literally Doctor Strangelove. I know it's called him, but it's like he's such an out of place character. Like he seems very shoehorned in there.
But Peter Sellers,
I know he does a good job. I thought the character itself was good, well done. I enjoyed the character. I'm just saying his character in the war room or in the context of this film just felt forced to me.
yeah, he was probably my favorite part.
I
But
see we
but Peter Sellers,
I see we have discontent among us.
uh, I mean, Operation Paperclip made his character possible. Don't take this from me. And there is an actual disorder called Doctor Strangelove syndrome when your hand seems to move on its own free will.
I'm not even going to ask why they named it that. Um,
You see, when the
one
hand starts jerking you off, that's a strange sort of love, you know? I don't actually
thank you,
know.
thank you, Jack. That was the joke. Um,
See, the joke is masturbation
it's also the key.
and solution to all of life's problems.
Including fluoridation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one thing that also kind of bugged me, but I also enjoyed was so the bomber crew is going like they get their little message and they start going through their checklist and they're getting ready. Like they each get their little envelope of instructions and they're doing their thing. But part of the like prepping to get ready to do this nuclear strike is everybody pulls out their survival kits and the the lead pilot starts going down the list of like things that should be in the survival kit and it's like they should already know what they have and they shouldn't be undoing their shit in the middle. Like it should just be in their bag, you know what I mean? Like
You got to make sure, man. You got to make sure those condoms and nylons are in your survival bag when you're dropped into the Siberian wilderness.
that was another one of those like I don't believe this is actually something that would be a part of this. That being
I do.
said, I found it hilarious because did you ever watch uh, Steve 1998 MRE or 1988 MRE?
I've seen an episode or two of his, and what was his catchphrase? Let's get the tray out.
Nice. Let's get this out onto a tray. Also, whenever there was a really good vacuum sealed package, she'd be like, "Nice hiss."
What was the episode where he finds meth in like the German tankers MRE?
Yeah, he had amphetamines in a fucking like German ration.
Yeah, all of a sudden everything I know about the German tanker squads makes sense.
It certainly does. But the entire time they're going down that list where it's like 45 automatic, 100 rubles, three sticks of lipstick, nylons, gold, amphetamines, sleeping pills. I was like, this seems like something that he would review.
But that sounds like a good weekend in Vegas.
Hooey!
And my god, his death scene is quite possibly one of the best in all of cinema. Like, that's the way to go,
Yeehaw!
riding a nuclear weapon into a Russian base.
Giant uh, wad of tobacco in your lip.
Hell yeah, man. It's the American dream.
Is there anything else you'd like to touch on in this film?
Man. So, would you agree with my pitch in our last episode that this movie is either the scariest comedy or the funniest disaster movie you've ever seen, depending on how you look at it?
Yeah, I definitely think that that tracks. And I know we really shouldn't be rating film against film because obviously this film is a completely different track than the Bedford incident, but it's very hard for me not to stack them side by side. And I know in that episode you said that you preferred this. So I'm kind of torn because I liked I liked the Bedford incident better, but I think this is a better film. But I gave the Bedford incident a perfect score. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So inner turmoil abounds. Um, what do you think the rating system should be for this?
Um, Underground Bunker Wives.
Underground Bunker Wives, 1 to 10. 10 females for every male.
All right, fine. Let's break from tradition and say 1 to 10 Bunker Wives. But what was I gonna? Oh yeah, before we do this, what you drinking tonight?
Oh yeah, we do usually do that, don't we?
We can't we can't break from tradition except when we do.
I forgot that we were doing that because the last couple of episodes I haven't been drinking alcohol because that's what I gave up for Lent. Um, but that brings
But
me back to what
John,
we
I didn't know you were Catholic.
shut the fuck up. I
It's like the third time I've bedeviled him about this audience.
You don't have to be Catholic to practice Lent. You you can be any one of the subsects of Christianity, my guy.
Would they say they lent out the tradition to all faiths?
I would hit you if I could. um.
I was gonna say I gave up religion for Lent, but
Oh, you're so
I I,
clever.
I give that up every day. But anyway, you were saying.
Anywho, the last couple of episodes, I've highlighted American companies that make either like coffee or tea, what have you. Um, and this week, I am drinking tea from the Valhalla Tea Company
Ooh.
out of Vancouver, Washington. They did very manly branded teas, such as Goddess of War and like a Doc Holiday theme bag, which is their Huckleberry flavor. I'm currently drinking. It's called the All Father blend, which has a wonderful photo of Odin on it. It's nice, light, non-caffeinated. So yeah, if you're looking for a good American tea company to throw your dollars at, I highly recommend Valhalla Tea. I think I've mentioned them before on this show, but I'll be sure to share their stuff when this episode comes out.
I see.
They're not our sponsor. They could be
But they
though.
could be.
They could
Yeah.
be. And this is a prime episode for them to see what wonderful candidates for sponsorship we are.
Of course.
What are you drinking?
Bud Light and Mellow Yellow.
It's an
Because
inch. I didn't know Bud Light made a mellow yellow flavor.
shut the entire fuck up. But yeah, you know me, ADHD, I have to have multiple drinks. One for the taste and one for, well, I'm not sure why I'm drinking Bud Light, but I want to, so I am.
Have you ever seen the Beverage Goblin TikTok?
No.
It's a song, but it goes like a beverage goblin needs 3 drinks at a time. Did. I'll send it to you.
Does it look like I give up my data to Chinese spies? No, I give up my data to independent corporations like an American.
I don't want the Chinese to spy on me, he said from fucking every meta platform.
Take my data, daddy, I say to the government.
Daddy Zuck can do whatever he wants to me.
Careful, he might take that as an invitation if he hasn't already.
Uh, anyways, 1 to 10 bunker wives.
I give this 9 bunker wives out of 10. I love this movie. One of the best death scenes in all of cinema. Iconic. Um, Depressingly realistic ending. Everyone fucking dies. And it resonates today because aside from some names and technology, the message remains the same and the threat is very much real. In fact, I believe we're the closest to midnight we've ever been on the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists nuclear countdown thingy, the doomsday clock.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
I think, like you said, it's still very relevant today. It's also like it's hailed as one of the greatest films of all time, so it's hard to really knock it. Like, yeah, there are things that kind of threw me out of it, but I just take that as artistic liberty on Kubrick's part. Um, I will give this 9 bunker wives, and the 10th bunker wife is a quadriplegic.
Okay.
I don't know how that maths out, but more than a 9, less than a 10.
Okay.
Not trying to
So
say not trying to say quadriplegics are lesser people.
you heard it here first, folks.
They are just lower physically functioning people.
Nice save. Also, I'm going to take command of this podcast because you canceled yourself. So this is now the Jack Show.
Oh, great.
The Jack Variety Hour. Cancel John. He's an ableist.
What do you have in stock next week, Professor?
I don't know. It's a variety show. I was just going to show up and record myself.
Okay.
All right, fine. You're uncanceled. What movie do you pick for next week?
So we discussed, or I alluded to this earlier in our text conversations, and you seemed pretty stoked on it. This is a film from the 90s, which pushes the boundaries a bit on whether it's a war film. There's a lot of war references. There is combat, but it's not a war film in the traditional sense. Um, Very influential in some people's childhoods. And Jack, would you like to share the name of the film?
Small Soldiers, Big Battles.
You're fucking wrong, motherfucker.
Oh.
Revenge of the Red Baron, starring Tobey Maguire and Mickey Rooney.
I was so close.
Okay, to be fair, I originally was going to choose Small Soldiers, but when I was on YouTube and I was looking up clips from Small Soldiers, as one does, and that mixing with my normal algorithm of shit from like World War I and World War II, it led me down this rabbit hole of this really shitty, I'm pretty sure it has to be a direct release film. And it's literally Tobey Maguire's first feature film where he is a lead. He has 2 films prior to this where he's either a supporting actor or an unlisted credit. So this is Tobey Maguire's first shot and Mickey Rooney's 98th, whatever. Um, and the premise of Revenge of the Red Baron is Tobey Maguire's grandfather is a World War I fighter ace who shot down the Red Baron and has a hobby of flying RC airplanes. And so him and his son or grandson go out flying these RC airplanes, and a thunderstorm occurs and it strikes a model of the Red Baron's airplane, and the spirit / ghost of the Red Baron hunts down this family like Chucky. So
Influential indeed.
it is so shitty. I don't know if it's actually shitty of a movie, but it's such an uh like a lesser known unknown film that nowhere streams it. Like there's a bootleg copy of it on YouTube. I bought a fucking VHS off of Amazon for this. So
Wow.
now I have to find a fucking VCR, but separate issue.
Details.
Anyways, I'm so stoked to be doing this film. I'm sure it is going to be fucking like it strikes me as one of those films that is going to be so terrible it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you sold me on the pitch already. I'll be honest, I forgot to watch the trailer you sent me, but now I'm definitely going to.
You motherfucker.
I know, I'm a bastard. Hate me all you want. I've been busy. Eat me.
Okay.
For our dear listeners, I've been involved in the local production. And tonight's our first night in goddamn near 10 days where I haven't had a practice or a performance. Nothing tomorrow, and then another production out on Thursday. But you know what? Want to know what we forgot?
What?
Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yes, we did. What does Rotten Tomatoes get this?
It
Man,
it
this is what happens when we haven't done an episode together in like 2 weeks. We just completely lose our flow.
Yeah, I know I fucked that up, but
You did. You were busy, man.
I'm sorry. I failed you, man. But anyway, 98% on the tomometer and 94% on audience score. So 9.8 bunker wives on the tomato and 9.4 for the audience.
So like 9 bunker wives and a bunker wife that like lost a eyeball in a terrible archery accident.
Sure. You were going some weird places here, but
I didn't know where I was going until the words came out, so you know what? I want to amend my fucking rating. I want to take back the quadriplegic statement. That wasn't right of me. This is just a nine whole.
well, I revised mine to give it 10 out of 10.
Okay, you give it 10 out of 10. I'll give it 9 out of 10.
No, fuck
Nine,
you. You have no taste.
just 9 people of any variety you wish to imagine them to be.
Wow, you're so.
Okay,
Wow, how tolerant.
I know.
You're gonna
Here we
emerge.
do not tolerate intolerance.
The doors of your bunker are gonna fling open, and there's gonna be a shitload of different colored Johns flooding out. Johns and Janets. John Juniors and Janets.
Janet.
And you're just gonna repopulate the world and name it Planet John.
Nobody wants a world full of Johns, especially me.
I do. It'd be a better place. There would be no war. Okay, there'd be war, but
Oh, there'd definitely be war.
but it'd be well covered because everyone would have a podcast on the wars.
Maybe there wouldn't be war because everybody'd be too busy podcasting.
Yeah, and beating
All
the shit
right.
out of each other. But
Do you have anything else?
no,
Thank God. If you
Fuck you.
enjoy, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. The stars do matter. If you want additional content from us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube under the Armchair Commanders. We'd love to have your likes, follows, subscribes, hearts, whatever the fuck metric you want to use.
I want your heart.
It's already yours, baby. Until next time, I've been John,
And I've been Dr. Jack.
and we will catch you later.
Bye.
You should do. Jack, God damn it!
What?
You should do Yeehaw. You should do Yeehaw this time.
Yeah. Boom.